With the hype building and building for Deadpool and Wolverine, I thought it would be a fun idea to revisit the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games while playing only as Deadpool and Wolverine, to see how the characters changed over time, and just in general, see how the series changed, with 3 different developers in charge, with one game coming out pre-MCU, one at the start of the MCU, and the final one post-Endgame. So let's just go into it and go back to 2006 with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1.
Like a prayer has been denied on behalf of Madonna.
What the hell is going on? Where's our air support? Get those forward guns going. Why aren't those rear batteries firing? Somebody get General Wilson on the horn!
Colonel Fury.
Doom, I'll have your head for this.
I have little time for your petty threats, Colonel. Surrender your ship now, or I shall destroy it.
It's a priority alert to all metahumans. UN and Alpha requested immediate assistance.
Thor, take care of those gunships. Spider-Man, draw them towards the stern. Wolverine, you
Do it, Boy Scout. I don't take orders from you. What are you girls looking at?
Gentlemen, this is Colonel Nick Fury. I'm on the main bridge, but I'm not sure how long I'll last. Get here ASAP. Fury out.
So the game starts with our party as Captain America, Spider-Man, Thor, and Wolverine. For some reason the game thinks we want to play as Cap, but obviously we're here for Wolverine and Wolverine only. If you're not familiar with the games, I guess the most popular comparison would be Diablo. You've got your normal attacks that build up energy, and with energy you can use abilities, but instead of classes, these games feature a ton of different Marvel characters, each with their own unique abilities. So at the moment, with Wolverine, we can push X to swipe people with our claws, and circle for a heavy attack which can be charged. And if we push R2 and X, we can spend our energy to do this claw swipe. And different combinations of X and circle will pull off combos, which can be used to stun enemies or pop them up into the air. And very soon into Learning Combat, we get our first boss fight. Each of the games have completely separate stories, and to be honest, from what I've played, this game barely actually has one. Dr. Doom is wanting to take over the world and has recruited a bunch of supervillains to join his Masters of Evil. So in the game, you basically just go around famous Marvel locations and defeat famous Marvel villains. We easily defeat Scorpion, which leads us to our first shield point, where we can swap out our team. Of course, we kick everyone out and choose to play as
Deadpool
and Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Something unique about this one is it's the only game out of the 3 that allow you to have 1, 2 or 3 people in a team. In other games we'll be using Deadpool, Wolverine and then just 2 other random people. But in this game we're able to just be Deadpool and Wolverine on their own. One thing I found weird instantly is that Deadpool's base attacks don't use his katanas or his guns, so he purely just uses acrobatics to attack. But he does have a teleport instead of a double jump, which you can actually use to skip some sections. Because of the scope of the game, the majority of the cutscenes are generic and unvoiced. It makes sense because they would have to write and voice 20 plus different lines for every piece of dialogue, but it is a bit disappointing that Deadpool doesn't always have something to say. By using Deadpool's katana skill for the first time, we level up and start to unlock new abilities. We also find out about the grab button, which you can use to basically stun lock enemies. And throughout this first section of the game, I was switching between both characters so I could give them a fair shake. Because we had now killed 35 enemies as Wolverine, we unlocked a new costume for them. Obviously, if you've been following the marketing for Deadpool and Wolverine, you'll know that Hugh Jackman is finally wearing the blue and yellow suit. So I was excited to ditch this Logan costume and get into something a bit more movie accurate. By working together, we managed to defeat Bullseye, and sadly, the costume is closer but not quite the Wolverine we want. So we continue on, with Deadpool dodging these lasers in his own Deadpool way. We then made it back onto the outside of the helicarrier and spent an embarrassing amount of time trying to throw people off the edge, before we ran into Radioactive Man and Winter Soldier. One thing I find fascinating about playing these games in 2024 is how characters' popularity have changed in the 18 years since the games came out. Here, the devs decided that Radioactive Man and the Winter Soldier are of a similar enough level that they could be paired together for a boss fight, whereas now the Winter Soldier is one of the most popular characters and most people still haven't even heard of Radioactive Man. I might be getting this completely wrong, so let me know what you think about this in the comments. This level ends with a boss fight against Fin Fang Foom, which is honestly more of a gimmick boss fight since the majority of the time you're on this turret, and there's a lot of gimmick boss fights throughout this whole series. I used to find these games really hard, but it was in this fight that I realised the block basically negates all damage, which obviously makes fights a lot easier. After completing the first level, we find ourselves in Stark Tower, which acts as basically a hub between missions.
Fortunately, Tony is willing to let us stay here for the duration. The Vision is here as our information officer. Great. We got a computer to talk to the computers for us.
There's honestly not much to do here, but I did find this computer which lets you look at the developers of the game. And after seeing the Raven logo here, it reminded me that the developers of these two iconic games are now just support studios under Activision Blizzard. As you level up your characters, you unlock new abilities or level up ones you already have. So we unlocked DualShock for Deadpool and helped Vision do some quizzes. Most of the questions here are super easy because they've been adapted, but a few of them did stump me. And we even got some Deadpool and Wolverine questions. So again, because there's a huge amount of people you can play as, the devs had to pick a small amount for each cutscene. In the time I played, Wolverine got a lot of screen time, but Deadpool was nowhere to be seen. But I do imagine he'll pop up somewhere later on. And sometimes the cutscenes actually do have unique dialogue, which is quite cool.
Keep up with all this sweet talk, Dugan. You're gonna make me blush. Now what's the story here?
And Deadpool is constantly saying stuff while you play.
And now I'm better at doing whatever it is Wolverine does.
We could now test out the dual shot ability against Crimson Dynamo, which honestly doesn't do much damage, but it's quite satisfying to just hang back and attack from far away. Then we can switch to Wolverine to finish him off with his upgraded rage attack. I'm not actually 100% sure how this mechanic works, but Wolverine has a rage bar that will slowly fill up, and when it's full, if you use his abilities, you'll do an updated version of it for a ton of damage. And at this point, I just thought Wolverine was so much more fun to play as, mainly because he just does a lot more damage than Deadpool, especially after we unlock Wolverine's power that charges him up to do even more damage. In this level, we find a simulator disc, which I wasn't going to do, but it was a Wolverine one. These missions are completely separate to the main game, and are essentially just small challenge maps. In this one, we play as Wolverine and have to fight our way through this base. This is quite easy and not much happens, but the two important things that happen here are we unlock a new costume, and when we finish the simulator mission, it takes us right back to the exact point we left the level in, which you'll see will be relevant when we play the third game. Before we can make it to a shield point to check out the costume, we need to beat Mysterio. I thought this would be one of those fights where he splits himself into a bunch of enemies, but only one of them is the actual Mysterio. But it does seem like these are all the actual Mysterio, and it ends up being an awful fight because they gang up on us, and they have the ability to slow us down or just completely stun us. The only way I was able to escape this was to keep switching between Deadpool and Wolverine to confuse the enemy's AI. But after the fight, we get to find out if this costume is the one we were waiting for.
Let's fucking go.
With our new movie accurate costume, we finally managed to throw someone over the edge and unlock a new skill for Wolverine. With this one, you can charge at enemies from far away, but if you hit it up close, it will actually pin the enemies to the ground and is basically an instant kill. And after killing MODOK, this feels like a good point to move on to the next game and talk about the situation I find myself in.
What kind of situation we talking about here, Cap?
So this video was originally meant to be a full platinum video of Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, only playing as Deadpool and Wolverine. But for various reasons, this isn't actually possible. But because you can literally just play as Deadpool and Wolverine in this game, I'm going to continue this playthrough in a future video. And I'm going to beat the game while only playing as them, and I'm going to see how close I can get to the platinum. And I also want to make full videos on 2 and 3, but they'll just be normal videos without the Deadpool and Wolverine challenge. So if you'd like to see any of those videos, subscribe to the channel and let's start the second game. We started the game on super heroic difficulty, and we're reunited with our old friend from the very start. And you can instantly see the MCU start to influence these games, because this game is based on the Civil War comics and it starts with Secret War, which features a handful of characters including Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, but not Iron Man. And this game launched a year and a half after Iron Man 1 and half a year before Iron Man 2. However, I guess you could argue that the reason they included him here is because one of the main conflicts of Civil War is Cap versus Iron Man. But interestingly, this is also the same starting lineup as the first game, except instead of Thor, we've got Iron Man. Now, for the most part, the combat works the exact same as the first game, so we'll only be covering the new stuff.
You don't want me going berserker on you, what? And leave all the fun to you girls? Bite me, Fury.
No time to argue, Shorty. Take West with you. Locate Bravo team and find another way into that castle.
You heard the man, Webhead. Let's move.
Yeah. Sheesh. Respect.
And just for a quick explanation, this footage is actually from November last year, because I was going to make a similar video, but I would platinum this game only as Daredevil. This is back when we thought he would have been an Echo for more than, 2 minutes. So because the game requires you to pick 4 people, we chose to play as Daredevil, and we picked Spider-Man and Luke Cage because they're Daredevil adjacent, and then Gambit just because I'm a Gambit guy. But because this footage is basically for a different video, we're going to skip through the first 2 hours so we can get rid of Daredevil and plays Deadpool and Wolverine instead. We load our save and the first thing we do is get Wolverine in the team. But we have a major issue. Deadpool is locked. So instead, for now, we fill out our team with some Deadpool adjacent characters, and then Gambit, again just because I'm a Gambit guy, and I'm still holding out hope we'll see Channing Tatum's Gambit in the film. So now I just have to continue my save until we somehow unlock Deadpool, and the mission where we're at was in Washington DC where we defend the Capitol, and at the moment we've got two abilities for Wolverine. One is similar to the charge attack from the previous game, and there's also this uppercut move. We can still grab people, but I just miss Deadpool so much.
You like American? Yeah, you stupid, vaguely foreign freaks! You ruined my vacation! And you, dumb as nails shield clones! I saw what you did to those cherry blossoms back there. You think those things grow on trees? And you think it makes me less of a man if I came here for the cherry blossom festival, huh? You're laughing with your eyes! I can see it! Fine! Time for a little boss battle, suckers!
Up until this point, I actually forgot I was playing on hard, which meant I was playing badly and Deadpool killed us very easily. So we regrouped and I made sure to actually level up Wolverine's abilities, unlock some new ones, and equip some boosts, which are stat upgrades for the whole team that you unlock after completing challenges. I also remembered what fusion abilities were. Once this bar is full at the bottom right, you can use two characters' abilities at the one time for a big combo move. I think these are a great idea because it makes you want to mix and match characters to see how they interact. But I assume there's actually just a handful of these, and characters are pretty much interchangeable. For example, Cable shoots a laser at Wolverine who deflects it, but I'd guess that Captain America would also deflect it, and Iron Man would probably shoot a laser in the same way. I do still think it's a nice touch though, and it emphasises the idea of actually making a team. With a modified fastball special and some help from Gambit, we take out Deadpool.
Ouch! I knew I should have sprung for the health meter enlargement I saw in that email. You're probably trying to clear out these terrorists, huh? Can I join the party? I'll join on any basis you want, as long as I get the keys to the Stark Tower executive washroom. Come on, that-a-way, the subway!
For this next section, Deadpool joins the party, but we haven't actually unlocked him yet.
Ooh, can we stop for a cool, refreshing beverage? Catchy product placement check works up a thirst.
As for the game itself, I think this is better than the first in a lot of ways. Bear in mind, I haven't finished any of them yet, but from what I've played, I love the fact that this game has more of an actual story. Combat feels a lot better, there's a lot more enemies on the screen at the one time, and I think the tighter camera angle just makes the game feel so much better to play. If you've played these, let me know what you think, because it seems like people tend to agree the first game is actually a lot better. This game also does seem to have a lot more unique dialogue, like in this section where Stan Lee talks to Wolverine.
No kidding, bub. You can't expect the X-Men to reveal their names to the...
Say no more, knucklehead. Not everyone fears and hates mutants. Well, best of luck trying to catch that maniac. Like our state motto says, Excelsior.
Don't I know you from somewhere?
You don't look like the voting type.
Yeah, whatever. Hey guys, I'll take these pencil pushers back to the Capitol.
Preliminary casualties are said to be over 600.
And now, just like how it happens in the comics, the Civil War starts, with Captain America defecting. But who cares about all that? We've got Deadpool now, and we can start leveling him up. Once you get so far into an ability, you start to add modifiers to it, which is quite cool. After getting some cutscenes about what the Superhero Registration Act actually is, we get the option to sign it, or to...
One more stunt like that and there'll be hell to pay.
In this game, Deadpool uses his katanas to attack. One of his abilities is to disappear and throw a bunch of grenades on the floor, and his gun ability is back, almost identical to the first game. Choosing to sign or not sign the act actually changes the course of the game because you'll be locked into doing specific missions and locked out of playing as certain characters like Iron Man. But it's okay because...
Besides, I can always go the other way on my next playthrough.
So because we're not on Iron Man's side, we can no longer use Stark Tower as a base, and instead we're in this underground bunker. And this game also has a quiz, which starts off with a Deadpool question. Depending on which side you choose, you'll also be locked out of certain passive abilities for each character, which isn't a game changer, but it is quite important if you want to spec them out a certain way. And you'll also be locked out of some costumes, because you unlock Deadpool's one for killing 150 enemies after registering, but I'm happy with the ones we have anyway. We had now unlocked a new ability for Wolverine, where you skewer an enemy and slam their head into the ground. And in this game, I actually much prefer to play as Deadpool. Honestly, in general, I just think his abilities are more unique. Deadpool obviously has a much more varied set of weapons, so his abilities reflect that too. And if you're wondering, they're fusion fusion ability isn't great. There's a bunch of characters who, when you pair them up, don't actually have a unique attack and they just fight enemies at the same time, and Deadpool and Wolverine have that fusion ability. So we continued on in this level, and you can see from these clips just how fun Deadpool is to play as, especially with the piercing bullets.
You can't tell the good guys from the bad guys anymore.
And before we move on to the third game, I just wanted to talk about another small thing I prefer about this game. Because it's a civil war, a lot of the bosses you fight are actually superheroes on the other side, and just like in the first game, it does kind of feel like characters just kind of show up and then you fight them. But fighting Black Widow feels a lot different than fighting Scorpion, and fighting War Machine feels a lot different than fighting the Radioactive Man. This also lets you kind of see other characters' abilities and powers even if you're not using them. And it made me realise my ideal premise for one of these games. It would be a story where you start as a small team and need to defeat brainwashed versions of groups of heroes, who you then unlock after beating them. Obviously the story would feel quite samey if you just did this over and over again, but I think there's some fun stuff you could do with that concept, and I also feel like the gameplay here lends itself so well to a roguelike. So I really hope this series somehow comes back in some way, because it's already made one comeback before. Ultimate Alliance 1 came out in 2006, Ultimate Alliance 2 came out in 2009, and then Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 came out in 2019, exclusively on a Nintendo Switch. First things first, this game has crazy load times. Obviously the first two games loaded quickly, since they're PS2 games running on a PS5, so I knew this would be slower, but I didn't think it would be this bad. Starting off, we only have two difficulties, so we're playing on Mighty, and this game starts with the Guardians of the Galaxy, who follow some high energy signals to a Kree battleship.
I am Groot.
And if this was a only Deadpool and Wolverine challenge, well, we have some bad news, because this is the first game to start Wolverine-less. I did my best to find a way around this, but that's just how it is. So let's skip through the game until we're reunited. First we fight Nebula and defeat Ronan, and the MCU influence is in full effect, because this game came out 2 months after Endgame, and it's centred around the Infinity War storyline. Star-Lord manages to grab the Space Stone and teleports each of the other stones somewhere else, and then he teleports the Guardians to the Raft, where they need to break out, but accidentally break everyone else out, including this Wolverine knockoff. But instantly we're introduced to another Marvel character.
You know, delivering supervillains to the Raft is usually a lot of boring paperwork, but this... it's a total riot!
And just like with Deadpool in the first game, Spider-Man doesn't officially join the team, but he fights alongside us. We help him defeat Sandman, and then some other people show up.
Then you're lucky some of us still have a way in. We do it as a team.
So we can now play as any of these people, but you'll notice that Deadpool didn't make the cut. However, if we quit back to the menu...
Party time!
So this game has a season pass which also includes Morbius DLC, which, come on, we need to get to at some point. But to incentivise people into buying the pass before any of the DLC was actually out, it allows you to unlock Deadpool much earlier than you're meant to, which was a godsend for this video. So we put together a team of Deadpool, Wolverine, and some other deleted characters. Sadly, we haven't unlocked Gambit yet, and you might notice that Deadpool actually starts out at level 21, since that's the level you're meant to unlock him at. That's quite weird, but it does mean we already have all 4 of his abilities, whereas Wolverine only has the 1. This game has its own version of fusion abilities, except the characters don't actually interact, they just do their own ability at the same time, and the basic combat is similar to the other two, where you've got your normal attack and a heavy attack. However, in this game, I wasn't able to pull off any combos by combining the 2 types of attacks. In Deadpool's basic attack, he uses both his katanas and his gun, which is quite cool to see, and it makes a lot more sense than the other games. I'm not entirely sure how leveling works in this game, but with Deadpool being level 21, he didn't actually seem too overpowered, so I could thankfully still use him and have a fun time. This game has a lot more platforming and puzzles than the other two, and with Deadpool you can actually skip some of them. As for the actual abilities, Wolverine's first one is this claw attack, which you can actually spam in a single move until you're out of energy. For Deadpool, his gun attack is back. He has a similar bomb attack. He's got this one where he teleports close to an enemy and slices them, and he's got a tornado katana attack. And I just want to say, whatever they put into the sound design of this game is perfect. Every attack just feels so satisfying. Because the game is based on Infinity War and starts with the Guardians, I did get nervous thinking this was basically going to be a MCU game, but it actually does do some into this and stuff with other characters that I didn't expect. A major issue I have with the game, however, is there's simply too much going on and it's hard to actually see what's happening. So much so that I ended up checking the options to see if I could turn off the particle effects, but you can't, so this is what we have to deal with. Just like in the second game, early on we fight Venom, who is actually a playable character, and once we beat him, Spider-Man tells him about Thanos, so for now he joins our side. And this early section of the game is full of character introductions and unlocks, including these younger heroes, who for some reason don't recognise us and we have to fight them.
More of them? Are you serious? How many crazy superpowered prisoners does this stupid place hold?
At last count, 616.
Against 3? Those are terrible odds. When this is over, remind me to never hang out in your dimension again, Miles.
At first I thought this was similar to the Avengers vs Guardians scene in Infinity War, but it soon revealed that they're actually under Mysterio's influence. So this is actually kind of similar to the brainwashing storyline I was wishing for. The voice actors in these games have been all over the place, but it's quite cool that in this one, Nolan North is Deadpool, and the Spider-Men are voiced by the Insomniac voice actors. Obviously this game is in its own separate universe, but I did think it was quite interesting that they share voice actors, especially because this came out only 10 months after the first game.
Every generation needs heroes.
This game has a kind of silly level up system, where if you don't use a character, they don't level up. So they have this catch up system, where you can use these experience cubes to quickly boost a character. And we basically just used every cube we could find on Wolverine to unlock his abilities as fast as we can. And just a small detail here, on basically every attack as Deadpool, he'll say something including making his own gunshot sounds. And again, just listen to the crunchy sound design on this move. We had now unlocked Adamantium Assault, which is an uppercut move, and again, it just sounds amazing when it hits. It is possible that this sound I like is the stagger bar breaking sound, which is a new mechanic in this game, where some bigger enemies will have a stagger bar, which you'll slowly chip away at, and when you break it, they'll be stunned and take more damage. Usually when you break it, you want to do an alliance attack, which is a move where every member of your team does an ultimate attack at the same time, and it melts enemies' health bars. At the end of this section, Green Goblin uses the Time Stone to see a possible future which is very similar to the one in Age of Ultron.
This is how it all ends. I shall be waiting here for you.
This unites the team, who now know what they're up against. And if you're not a fan of MCU humour, I don't think you'll like this game.
We'll take what we can get, and together, we'll make sure that there is no way in this galaxy or any other that a tyrant like Thanos will... Really? Come on, man!
We then end up in the Shadowlands and find an Infinity Rift. These are essentially this game's version of the simulator missions, where you're going to do some side activity and get rewarded for completing it in certain ways. They're good ideas, but I will do them much more often if I wasn't sent back to the menu after completing one. This is why I pointed out in the first game, when you finish a simulator, you load in right back where you were. It just seems so odd that they had this solved 15 years ago, and then they came up with a clunky solution here. The Shadowlands are quite uninteresting, but we do unlock Wolverine's third ability here, which is a damage buff, very similar to one of his abilities in the first game. You know, it's not a move I get excited about, but it is useful. And I wouldn't say any of these games look all that good, but there's some nice art design in this one, and I don't actually see it happening, but I do hope this game somehow finds its way off the Switch at some point. Stark Tower makes an appearance in this game too, but it isn't a hub. It's actually just a whole level where we fight Ultron in another gimmick fight, before we get to the main event of this video.
Sentinels. And I know just where they're headed. X marks the spot.
Destroy all mutants.
Нет, not today, товарищ. Comrade, heads up!
And eyes wide open.
Mutant detected. Terminate.
Like to see you try, scrap heap.
Save some for us, mein Freund.
We fight these Sentinels alongside the X-Men, and right now there's like 7 or 8 characters fighting at the one time. I've not finished this yet, so it might happen at some point, but this got me excited for some kind of portal scene fight with every character in the game on screen at the one time, because having this many characters at once feels like it embraces the entire idea behind the game, and it doesn't stop there.
Greetings, compatriots. There ain't nothing that can stop me.
Now we have to run away from Juggernaut through the X-Mansion, until we run into...
Taco night! We're gonna eat while the X-Men fight! Yeah! Oh. There, give me the lyrics! Taco... Yeah, it's going just as... Okay, that's it! Someone's about to get a kick square in the chimichangas!
So again, just like the second game, we fight alongside Deadpool, with Deadpool, to fight Juggernaut. And after the fight, Colossus shows up to keep him busy. We defeat Magneto, who again joins our side, and the Black Order shows up.
You know these guys?
As long as their prize is in our hands, these monsters will follow us to the ends of the universe.
The team decide that the best thing to do is to go into another universe. So with Deadpool and Wolverine jumping into a portal, this feels like the perfect time to end the video, go see the film, and then one day I'll come back to platinum the first 2 games and complete this one. So if you're new, hit the subscribe button, and if you've played these games, leave a comment telling me your favourite game, favourite characters, just any memories you have with them. Comment whatever. I just want to know what people think about them. So have a good one.